We're just going to do a few more examples of how to convert metric measurements using the factor label method. So let's start with our first example. We have 300 milliliters and we want to know how many liters that measurement is. It's a measurement of volume, so let's go on. We know that a milliliter is that unit of measurement. That means 1,000. There are 1,000 of something in there. So let's start with the unit that we have. We have 300 milliliters. All right. And we want to go from that into liters. So the first thing we do is we write our conversion factor. Now these are at the top of your page, so you should know a conversion factor. So I know I have milliliters. I want to get rid of them. So I'm going to put milliliters on the bottom of my conversion factor, and I want to get to liters. I'm going to put that on the top of my conversion factor. Then I'm going to look at my conversion factors that I have an option for that go from milliliters to liters. And you should have one that tells you that 1 milliliter is equal to, let's make that decimal, 0.001 liter. All right? So just like with fractions, we can cancel things out on the top and the bottom of a fraction. So if you look at this, if you want to consider this really to be 300 milliliters over 1, if it helps, the milliliters above would cancel out with the milliliters below. And I'm left with liters as my unit of measurement. So that's actually pretty good. That's what I want. Now all I have left to do is the math. So if I multiply across the top, I get 300 times 0.001, which is equal to 0.300. And I get 1 on the bottom. So my answer turns out to be that there are 0.3 liters is equal to or equivalent to 300 milliliters. All right, you could have also done it with a different conversion factor, although I'm going to recommend that you do this one, that you always keep the 1 with the prefixed unit of measurement and then write the conversion factor with the non-prefixed. But if you didn't do that, that's fine. You could have also said that 300 milliliters. Start with that. Again, write your conversion factor. Milliliters still has to go on the bottom. Liters has to go on the top so that the milliliters cancel. You also could have written that 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters, a conversion factor that's also given to you. The milliliters, again, would still cancel out. And when you did your math, instead of having 300 times 0.001 that you had up here, you would have 300 divided by 1,000, which still is 0.300 liters. The answer is the same. It's just the approach that you take. All right, let's do another example just to make sure you're okay. 6.5 kilometers, how many meters is that? So we start with our unit of measurement that we know, 6.5 kilometers. We're going to write a conversion factor. All right, it's going to have kilometers on the bottom because we want it to cancel out, and it's going to have meters on the top because that's the unit that we want, and hopefully we'll have meters at the end. If I look at my conversion factor, I know that 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. And if my kilometers cancel out, I'm left with meters, which is what I want as my units. Now all I have to do is my math. 6.5 times 1,000 is 6,500 meters. Could you have done it the other way? Sure. 6.5 kilometers. Again, on the bottom we would have kilometers. On the top we would have meters. You could have said that 1 meter is 0.001 kilometers. Still would have given you 6,500 meters. Right? Whichever conversion factor you use, you just have to make sure what is on the top is actually equal to what is on the bottom. But as I said, I'm going to recommend that you do it this way. Always keep the 1 with the prefix and put the conversion factor with the non-prefixed. All right, one more, just for good measure. All right, let's see how many grams are in 12 centigrams. So we start with our 12 centigrams. right? We write ourselves a conversion factor, right? Centigrams on the bottom so it cancels, grams on the top so that that's what we get, right? Go back and write our conversion factor. 1 centigram is equal to 0.01 grams. My centigrams cancel out, top and bottom. I have grams left over. Now all I have to do is my multiplication of numbers. So 12 times 0.01 is equal to 0.12. And that's my answer. So now I have 12 centigrams is equal to 0.12 grams. And this is that hint that I gave you. You should always, as you go from a larger unit of measure to a smaller unit of measure, what should happen is your number should get bigger. All right, it's the same measurement, but the value of the number gets bigger because you have more of the smaller units of measure in that same measurement. And it's the true for the opposite. If you go from a smaller unit of measure, which a centigram is, to a larger unit of measure, which is what a gram is, your number should get smaller. All right, and 0.12 is certainly smaller than 12 because you're dividing by 10, and as a result, you're ending up with a number that, if it's a bigger unit of measure, you should have less of them than you do of the one that's the smaller unit of measure. That's always a good way to check.